45 days. We're on day 15, so we're a little bit over 1/3 of the way through, and so we'll see crossover happen where both of the bills that have passed on the Senate and have passed on the House have gone to the other chamber, and then the bills go to the governor. The one quick thing I want to point out before I get into any legislative priorities is something important that the ACLU Virginia alongside partners on the ground are really paying attention to is the budget. We cannot emphasize how many times the governor has used the budgeting process to get his policies through, and so we are keeping a really big eye for budget amendments, making sure everything in finance, even the small things, could be there to restrict abortion, to make sure that if you do get a criminal legal reform bill passed or voting rights legislation passed, that there is something in the budget also helping to make sure that it's operational and being able to be implemented. So I just start there, and I'm gonna kind of go through a couple of issues that I got asked to speak on today. So part of it will be reproductive rights, part of it will be voting rights, and a little bit criminal legal reform. But I'm very casual, so if you have a question in between, or if you have any thoughts, just please feel free to raise your hand, and I really want this to be a conversation. I'm not sure who has already spoken or what has already been said, so I'm hoping not to be repetitive as well. All right, awesome. So I will start out with kind of what we're seeing in the abortion bans area. So as we know, there's been 6 different bills that have been introduced with the idea of banning and limiting abortion. We had a 15-week ban introduced. We had a life at conception, 2 different bills, both in the Senate and in the House, be introduced. Fetal viability ban by Donovan be introduced, life at conception ban by Chase, and then we had a fetal manslaughter bill introduced by Bell and Obenshain, which is always a really legally complicated bill, so we don't talk a lot about it on social media, but it is, we factor that into the bills that would restrict or limit or try to define a trimester framework for reproductive rights. And so, when Roe v. Wade was overturned last summer, the country witnessed state after state enact restrictions and bans on abortions. Unfortunately, Virginia is alongside those states. And while abortion remains legal in Virginia, efforts we once watched from afar are now at play at home as lawmakers consider total abortion bans. And this is tasked by Governor Youngkin himself. Anti-abortion lawmakers have introduced several bills. And I just want to make it very clear, because I get this question. But wait, Ashna, what kind of restrictions are we able to, come to? Or what does consensus looks like? Let's be clear, there is no consensus in this. There should be no sort of abortion ban is acceptable, not now, not ever. The choice of if, when, and how to have a child is personal and should be made of people who can get pregnant and their doctor, not politicians. Yeah, I think that's so very important because it gets lost in all of these conversations, right? These different policies, these different frameworks. And so Virginians have been making reproductive decisions for themselves for over 50 years, and we trust them to continue to do so. So really, when it comes down to it, I find it frankly ridiculous and very harming. I think harm is the word that comes to mind to see these legislators and our governor stand up and say that we want restriction to abortion. I mentioned a little bit about the legislative process. I will also mention this year is a big election year in the fall. Both the Senate and the House are going to be up for election. So it's very important that we elect people in positions in our legislators, decision makers, policy decision makers, to reflect the values of what we want them to see and pass. So this fall, the election is so very important as well. I will also say, despite overwhelming support from Virginians to keep abortion legal, that all of these bills were introduced, and that not only would these bills take away a person's decision to control what happens to their bodies, but negatively impact our right to privacy and the ability to determine our lives. I think bans not only make assumptions about who is deserving of abortion care, but unnecessarily restrictions on a decision that is only guided by medical experts. And to be real, it really does impact these types of policies and decisions, lower socioeconomic status individuals, and people of color. And so really what these laws are meant to do is really restrict abortion, but also more specifically for some groups of folks. You know, the right to abortion is not just the right to a medical procedure, it's the right to determine one's life free from governmental interference. The right to an abortion is the right to protect one's health, to put one's family first, and to own one's body and decide what happens next. Forcing pregnancy upon people is wrong, and just, you know, I think when it comes down to it, puts the lives of women and people who can become pregnant in peril. And so, you know, I really appreciate, I think this is one huge issue area that we have seen a setback on. The good thing is that, what is today? Today's Wednesday, right? Okay, so tomorrow in committee, all the days are with all the different committees. So all the abortion bans in the Senate were heard last week, and their recommendation was to vote it down. So now tomorrow in committee, we expect the Senate introduced abortion bans to be killed in committee. And now the House versions have not been docketed yet. I think that's there for a reason, you know, between all of us in this room. When the House leadership doesn't want to docket a bill and there's only a week left of hearings before crossover, that means they're probably figuring out and know that it's a losing issue. So what I want to tell you all, and like what I'm so thankful for, is the pressure that we put on legislators so far, and to continue that pressure because it's working. Right? If folks are thinking twice about the kinds of bills they're putting on dockets and hearings, that means that all of our voices are being heard. And so we got to keep that pressure up when it comes to abortion and reproductive rights. The other part that I will mention that's exciting is that, so yesterday was Tuesday. Yesterday morning at 10:30 a.m., Senator McClellan had a press conference where she introduced, a constitutional amendment, for a right to abortion. And so really, I would say that we're really excited to work alongside with partners to push forward a constitutional amendment. We definitely think that there needs to be some greater protection that's enshrined in our Constitution, and that can't be taken away. And so, as we all know, with the right to vote amendment, which we'll get to right next, is that passing a constitutional amendment in Virginia is hard. It needs to go through one session, so it would need to pass this session. It would need to have an election in between, pass another legislative session, not even changing a letter, not changing a comma, not changing a space, and then does it go to, in the fall, to the people to vote. So it is really complicated. We don't expect, we're excited that Senator McClellan has been loud and proud about wanting to pass a constitutional amendment, and the ACLU Virginia is, really dedicated to working alongside community members in the upcoming years to make that a reality. And so I wanted to mention that was something exciting that took place just yesterday at the Capitol and is being heard, and will slowly make its way through. And we're also looking, I don't think just, as we know, senators, it's a really close call, and so really looking to see that there's not negotiations or things that are taking place. We think that we should be putting the most progressive piece of legislation out there, given that we know the House is going to vote it down. Yep.
What are they naming that amendment? The language of that will impact us being able to convince the yay or nay.
Like what kind of communications tools, or like what is the actual content?
What are they calling this amendment?
Yeah, so that's I don't like to call it right to abortion.